These intros are so ridiculous. Hello everybody, I've watched A Quiet Place Part 2, which stars Emily Blunt, Cillian Murphy, Djimon Hounsou, and the kids from the original, and it's got John Krasinski, who also directed it and wrote it, and it's a continuation of the first movie. You pick up right where we left off. We get a flashback at the very beginning of the attack or whatever, still unknown how these creatures got here. We just know they came from space. Or they came from space, yeah. And so we follow Evelyn, Reagan, and Marcus as they're trying to escape the house after they've killed one of the monsters. And they run into Emmett, who we see in the movie as someone that used to live in the town they lived in. The story is about trying to find basically the next step in their goals. So in the first movie, we found out that Reagan could use her device for hearing. She could amplify it, and it would create a pitch that can annoy the monsters enough to remove their armor around their head, and they could shoot and kill it. It's more of the same from the first movie. It's mostly a coming of age for the teenagers. Reagan and Marcus go through a lot this movie, just like they did the last movie, but it's juxtaposed with Emmett, who is almost the opposite of Lee. He is a coward, basically. Not in the movie. We see that he is not a coward in the movie. But in the time between day 1 and day 474, I think it is, we see he explains himself as a coward, basically. And Reagan's like, "You're not my dad." And he isn't. That's sort of the trope with post-apocalyptic stuff, is most of the people turn crazy or insane, but not everyone's insane. And so Emmett and Evelyn and Reagan and Marcus, and of course the baby, go through a lot of stuff. There's a lot of monster fighting in this one, so that's really cool. The tension, John Krasinski knows how to create tension in a movie. It's a tension-filled coming-of-age story. It's not really horror. There are horror elements for sure, but it's not really horror. It's more of coming of age with monsters around. And it reminded me of Last of Us in a lot of ways. It's got the growth that we don't normally see in cities and stuff. The only criticism I have is Marcus does things that are just entirely stupid, just so the plot can have some tension to it. And I understand he's a teenager, and teenagers do dumb things sometimes. I mean, so does Reagan. She does a dumb thing by going out by herself. Marcus and Reagan do some very dumb things in this movie. But also, you gotta remember, they're teenagers. It's their story. They're coming of age. They're learning how to live in this new world with monsters that have come from the sky. It's a good movie. It's just not a great movie. And I would say that of the first movie too, is it's good, it's just not great. There are really good things here. Cinematography's great, directing's great, acting's great. It's just sometimes what the characters do and the way they react to things is kind of plot specific. It needs to move the plot forward so it happens. So if I had to rate it, I would give it a 7 out of 10 Beyond the Seas replays. Of course, I'm talking about the song Beyond the Sea. If you've seen the movie, you'll know what I mean. John Krasinski is a great director, and he's written a well-done movie. But yeah, like I said, it's a good movie, but not a great movie. I'll watch the third one whenever they do it. It's a great movie to see in the theaters because the sound is just popping up out of different speakers all over the place. And I missed that feeling of being in a movie theater and watching a movie and just total darkness, random strangers scattered throughout. There was probably 5 to 7 people in my theater when I watched it. No one was near me. I had my popcorn. I had my water. It was fun. It was fun to be back in the movie theater. And A Quiet Place Part 2 is a good movie to go see in the movie theater if you've been vaccinated, if your movie theaters are open. And I assume that this movie's going to be a hit. And if it's not a hit, I'm going to throw my sword into the air and see where it lands.
esercito di prodi